Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. Make sure to leave a like on this video down below and subscribe. My name is Alvin. I lean right on most issues, and I'll be representing the Republican side.
My name's Luke. I lean left on most issues, and I'll be representing the Democratic side. Now, in this video, that our partisanship does not really apply here. We are going to be reviewing some foreign politics. Seems like the world's kind of in a crazy place. Looking outside the U.S., there's been a lot going on, and we're going to be looking at that in this video.
Yeah, the US has been really boring compared to the world in the past few weeks. And you guys don't know this about us, but Luke and I actually align pretty well on foreign policy. So um, let's go ahead and start with Ukraine.
Yeah, okay. Well, here we have my beautiful Ukraine-Russia war map. I made this myself along with some other sources like Institute Study of War, and I've used Le Monde and the Associated Press's live coverage of the war. Yeah, so essentially we have the map here. So yeah, let's discuss the war. So Russia invaded Ukraine in February. A lot of people thought Ukraine was going to capitulate quite quickly, but obviously that is not the case. We are more than 6 months out, and Ukraine is pushing back on two fronts. And yeah, you have anything to say?
Yeah, so I know you've been keeping track of this war really closely. So obviously we've had all these counteroffensives that have been making the headlines. Obviously early on we had the Kyiv counteroffensive, got Russia out of there, the Kharkiv counteroffensive, and now it's been pushing ever closer into these lines. And recently we've seen Kherson and these other places in the southeast starting to crumble for Russia. The front lines have been pushing forward for Ukraine. And I know you know more about this, so while you do talk about that, let's show this Wikipedia infographic on the war's history. Go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, so right in the beginning of the war, Russia pushed on three fronts, like the northern, the southern, and the eastern. Over time, we'll see the northern front collapse, and as the Russians realize they've donated like too much resources, they've spread the resources too thin. That'll collapse, as you see. You're going to start seeing in the infographic right there. Oh, I guess they only have up into the spring offensive there. But onward from there, around the Kharkiv region, which is the second largest city in Ukraine, Ukraine would push back there. And now more recently, in October, Ukraine has donated resources into pushing into its southern regions, which were taken early on in the war, Kherson. And we're seeing lots of progress from the Ukrainians there. In, I believe, early October, I think late September, they took a bunch of cities there along the Dnieper River. So yeah, Ukraine's been doing awesome. Like they've been getting a lot of support from the West. More recently, they've done strikes on they've struck the Kerch Bridge, connecting Russia to Crimea, attacking Russian supply lines with U.S. weaponry. They've been doing a really successful campaign, and I think most recently in the news we've seen Russia really consolidating troops and turning Kherson into a fortress, like the city of Kherson, and like evacuating citizens. So I think they largely expect Ukraine to push them back to the city. Yeah, this is really interesting. And yeah, and also there's the annexation of regions. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so Russia decided to annex 4 regions, even though they don't even control any of these regions in its entirety. Luhansk, Donetsk, I'm not even gonna pronounce
Zaporizhia.
There seems to be 2 ZHs in there. Zaporizhia. I don't know. Anyways,
don't
not gonna embarrass myself there, and Kherson. And obviously they already illegally annexed Crimea, so technically 5 regions that they have of Ukraine right now. And they did this probably just to intimidate Ukraine. They started saying, if you invade Russia, then we're gonna basically hinting at nukes. And I always thought that was BS. It was BS. And I mean, I think Ukraine is on a good momentum right now. Momentum is everything in war, as you will see if you look at literally every war in existence. So the fact that they're pushing back this quickly, I mean, obviously it was basically a standstill for like 4 months or something. You're going into the winter of Ukraine, and you're probably not going to see that much movement. Although obviously I'm not a war expert, it's pretty difficult to navigate. At least for Russia to invade is not going to be easy. There's probably a reason why they decided to invade in February when it started to get warm. So yeah, as we go into the winter, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. If you use this link we have here, you will be able to see Luke's map update every single day as he updates it. So there we go.
Yeah, I mean, this war has been really crazy. I mean, it's hurting supplies, like it's boosted inflation in the U.S. and other European nations. We've seen Russia threaten nukes because of how badly Putin's getting his ass kicked. Like, I mean, they lost I believe their flagship in the Black Sea. Crazy. I mean, very interesting situation there. I hope Ukraine keeps doing well for the sake of democracy, fighting Putin back. Yeah, very, very much an interesting situation.
Yeah, so keep your eye out on the eastern and southern fronts here. All right, that's going to be our Ukraine coverage and wrap up for you guys. Let's move on to China, where I've probably been following things more in China. Just this morning we had a very dramatic thing come out of China. So China has been obviously threatening Taiwan, and that's been dominating the news cycle in terms of Chinese news. But something that's sort of flown a little more under the radar is their Communist Party Congress. Obviously, China is in one-party rule. Only the CCP has any power in China. And they hold every 5 years a big event where they choose the next leadership, the standing committee, which is sort of the like the second tier, the central committee, which is another like third tier, and then they have their entire Congress, which is like the 2,000 large Congress. It's not exactly what I just said, but it's pretty close anyway. That's what you need to get the idea. You can do your own research, of course. But this morning, as we could see, Xi Jinping just trying to consolidate his power here. Probably just choreographed, leading Hu Jintao, his predecessor, the leader of China before him, who opened the country up to the U.S., out of the Congress. So I'll play this in the background while I explain. And yeah, as we can see here, a staffer comes up to Hu Jintao, and the guy next to him just tells him, get up, get up. And then Hu Jintao reaches for this piece of paper, as you can see. He reaches for this piece of paper in a bit. Oh, wait, maybe the clip was before that. Nope, he reaches for the piece of paper. Just give it a moment or not. He seems really reluctant to leave. Okay, he keeps eyeing this piece of paper, and his hand almost goes there. They're like, "Come on, go, go, go! You need to leave, Hu Jintao." And he's getting embarrassed. Everyone's looking at him. The media's looking at him. He's like, "No, like I don't want to go. I don't want to go. This is me." He looks at his papers. He's looking at his papers. Like, you gotta go. You gotta go. And this just goes to show, Xi Jinping is cold. The other members at the front who aren't forced to be masked probably know what's happening. And they're basically just saying, like, go. And he's like, Z, what is happening, bro? And he's just like, just go. Bye. And he goes. And then, he gets humiliated. Everyone is looking at him. He just gets forced out. And hopefully he's okay, because China has a history of not treating political opposition well.
It's not even opposition, though.
He's not even opposition, but Xi Jinping needs to clear house for him to take an unprecedented third term, which, in China, they have 2 5-year terms for their premier. And after Hu Jintao had his terms, he let Xi have the reins, and this is how Xi pays him back.
Yeah.
And the CNN broke the coverage here this morning. They basically said, they got censored in China actually once they tried to publish the story. So it seems like maybe the Chinese are actually trying to stop them. Anyways, yeah, so the 2,000 delegates, then the 205-member Central Committee, and then the Standing Committee, who's the top-making body, which Z is going to be the top part of, top of the pecking order. So there we go. That's the Chinese wrap-up. Keep keep in mind, China, in the next few days, especially, we'll see if Xi gets his third term.
He probably will. I
He
mean,
probably will. And yeah, I'll be closing this off with looking at these two betting markets. And they're pretty important. We have Xi reelected now at 95 cents.
95.
Very, yeah, very. I mean, at some points he wasn't looking like he was
Why
going
did
to
it go
get his
down?
third
How
term.
far did it go down?
It went down to 73 cents
Oh,
at
that's
points.
interesting.
So, yeah, some, maybe some bad news story of the day of Taiwan or something might have brought it up. But anyways, we have one more story here, one more predicted market, one more betting market, and that's Hu Chunhua, who, as far as I can tell, seems to be a Hu Jintao protege. So he's one of the Hu Jintao people. And he just dramatically dropped. That's all I have to say. The standing committee, as I just said, is the second highest body. Well, it is the highest body, but Xi is obviously higher than the standing committee. He makes the big boy decisions. But Hu Junhua, who's coincidentally, I think, has the same last name as Hu Jintao. Not exactly sure if they're related, but anyways, little Hu going the way of big Hu ? In the past 24 hours, he's gone down from 77 cents to remain on the standing committee down to almost 50 cents, him going to 11 sometimes. So yeah, what's your take on this if you have anything?
I mean, like, I don't know. It's just like clear that, Xi Jinping is just consolidating power, going to keep going, similar to how Vladimir Putin's been like changing the constitution continuously, staying as leader of the country. I don't know. Honestly, these little drama events aren't too important to me. I think it's more important looking at like China, the leadership of China and Russia as a whole, and realizing these two are like extremely like dangerous countries that are threats to their regions and could even be threats to the United States. So I don't know. Not ideal.
Watch out for sure. All right. Now I'll let you cover Britain because I think you know more about this than I do.
Well, dude, after the death of the Queen, that was really sad. I don't know why I started open with that, but first, rest in peace to Lizzie, Queen Elizabeth. But we have some very interesting news coming out of the United Kingdom. Prime Minister Liz Truss has resigned, has left. This is obviously surprising news. She was only prime minister for like 6 weeks after Boris Johnson resigned. I think she's the shortest serving prime minister in British history. Feel free to fact check me on that, but I believe so. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, it's just like you could see like in this polling here, the Conservative Party has been just falling apart. Like it's been brutal. Like with inflation and with like Boris Johnson, Liz Truss's unpopularity, it's just crumbled. The Conservative Party's down at 21%. Dude, imagine if the Republican Party in the U.S. was at 21%. That'd be unprecedented. Like here, and then we see the Labour Party surging. I mean, the UK is going to probably not going to have an election for a while, but still, that's some crazy news right there. And if we go down to Liz Truss's approval, I mean, she left. Let me just explain this. Go to the start here. So Boris Johnson, very unpopular dude. Like you can see over his course, and he was eventually forced to resign. Liz Truss started unpopular because she's of the same party as Boris Johnson. People had relatively low expectations of her. But everything began to collapse for her when she enacted her first economic policy, and the economy instantly began to tank. Like imagine getting in office and like the first thing you do like makes everything worse or like just ruins everything. And that's what Liz Truss did. And then she became more unpopular than Boris Johnson. I mean, it is insane. So she was forced to resign, and that's crazy. And then I mean now, like after all that, like the Conservative Party just lost their new hope. Their new hope is gone. So now they're thinking about bringing back Boris Johnson, and it's just a very crazy situation in the United Kingdom. And I mean, you want to comment on the way they do elections? Because I mean, that is kind of whack how they're not
Yeah,
going to have elections.
I have to say, Europeans, they'll be like, oh, like, the US is the electoral college. The electoral college is trash. The Senate is not representative. Okay, whatever. At least we hold elections every 2 and 4 years consistently for 200 plus years. In Canada, in the UK, the ruling party gets to decide when elections are. Okay. It's pretty much the worst system I've ever heard of, outside of pure like authoritarianism. It's horrible. I mean, we see the UK here. Not that I'm a fan of the Labour Party, okay, but the fact that the Conservatives don't have to hold an election until 2025. 2025, you heard that right, not 2023 or 24, 2025 is absolutely ridiculous. They get to hold their elections when they are popular. Okay, that is how it works in the UK. Okay, it's absolutely crazy. You look at this all-time graph. Okay, they get into power. Okay, in 2019 they waited until they're up 10 points. Oh, then let's hold an election. Wow, how convenient. Okay, okay, now that we're down 30 points, oh, let's not hold an election until this completely blows over. There is a reason why consistent elections are very important in democracy, and this is ridiculous. I mean, even though, I'm obviously not a fan of the Labour Party as someone who leans right, at least socially, this is absolutely crazy that the fact that they're going to keep their majority and probably, by the time 2025 comes, they can easily recover. I mean, it's 2 whole years until that happens. So that's ridiculous. Boris Johnson might be back. So there we go. Let's move on. Yeah.
Do you want to touch on Italy for a bit here?
Yeah. So Italy, they have their far right first female prime minister, Giorgia Meloni. She's Georgia. She's a woman. She's a Christian, and she's a patriot. Oh, and she's a mother. That's how she described herself in her big, bold speech that she gave. And she's, first far right premier since the end of World War II, since Mussolini, actually, which is like crazy. Mussolini in female form 2.0. She's back. Mussolini's back and better than ever. And the backlash against, the woke agenda, as she calls it, the backlash against the woke agenda, the backlash against, globalism, in her view, got her this seat, and she's going to work with the center right and the far right to build a coalition that's going to be governing Italy. So keep an eye out for how she governs. And now let's move on to Brazil.
I just want to comment. Want to comment. This channel does not endorse Benito Mussolini at all.
Any jokes about fascist presidents are purely jokes. But anyways,
yes,
there we go.
Okay, on to Brazil. So in Brazil, we're in the middle of a presidential election in Brazil here. As opposed, we're having our midterms elections. Brazil's having their presidential elections.
And the UK is having no elections. So sad. Anyways, continue.
Indeed. Here we have essentially, I find this very interesting. We have, is it Jair Bolsonaro? Bolsonaro?
Jair? I don't know.
Jair Bolsonaro?
None of us are Hispanic. So.
Well, we have the current president, Bolsonaro, going up against the former president, Lula da Silva. Okay. So essentially, I'm going to compare this to Bernie versus Trump, a Bernie versus Trump scenario. Bolsonaro has very much compared himself to Trump, and he's acted like Trump. Like, he's a big conservative dude, pro-gun, I guess pro-God even, very into those Christian values, and also like he's a populist, election denier, basically the Trump of South America. And in Lula da Silva, we have a very, I guess, socialist ? Is the word to use. Very, very liberal dude in Lula da Silva. He's a former president. He's like loud like Bernie Sanders, so I think it's a fair comparison to make. So obviously here we have Lula da Silva winning the first round, but due to the nature of Brazil's elections, you need 50% or higher to win. So now there's going to be a second election round, I believe the 25th. I'm not entirely sure.
I believe so. It is.
Yeah, so we're going to have a second round then. But yeah, let's just take a look at these results here. So do you have any comments to make on them? No.
Yeah, so it's important to note that these candidates do so Ciro Gomez is a centrist, right? And Simone Tebet is also a left winger, question mark. I believe so. Oh wait, no, it's the other way around. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
Simone Tebet is the centrist and Ciro Gomez is the left winger. And this is gonna help Da Silva. People expect Gomez's votes to move to Da Silva, and Tebet might split her votes, but either way, Da Silva is in the driver's seat. Okay. But let's take a look at the betting odds because we love the betting odds on this channel. Okay, the betting odds are great because people have to put their money where their mouth is. They can't just say random things. They have to know what they're talking about, or they're not going to risk money on it. And Bolsonaro has been surging. There's no other word for it. He's been surging. Okay, since the night of the election, nothing really changed. Everyone expected, I mean, he did better than the polls suggested, okay, on the night of the election.
Bolsonaro, he did.
Yeah, Bolsonaro did. But now he's up to 36 cents, okay? This is the type of odds that maybe Trump had in 2016 to some people, or maybe even in 2020, okay? It depends who you ask. But Bolsonaro has a big chance. If we compare it to current races, we might compare this to I don't know, Blake Masters in Arizona or something like that. But Bolsonaro has a shot, okay, as the far right candidate. And we'll see what happens. I don't really know too much about the race. You certainly know more than me. But yeah, Bolsonaro has a shot.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Looking at this race, like one more time here, I do think Da Silva is certainly favored. He did get more than Bolsonaro in the first round. In terms of raw percentage, I think like around 5 points more. And I mean, I believe the independent candidates are more likely to break for a change candidate rather than an incumbent, personally. So I think he is favored to get that 50%. And he's also like quite close, 1.6% away. I think Lula da Silva is favored to win. But, again, this is something we should be watching. Because even if Lula da Silva wins, we should watch what happens. Because Bolsonaro has been peddling conspiracy theories about the Brazilian elections.
Wow, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, like very similar to Trump. And he's like a military guy too, affiliated with the military. And I mean, that's very dangerous. Like, if you could have the military involved in this, like, I don't know. This is a crucial point for Brazil's democracy. Similarly to how the events surrounding 2020 were for U.S. democracy. I don't know. We're gonna have to watch this very closely.
Yeah, nothing more to add. I think that sums it up quite well. So, thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to leave a like as always. Comment down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe. Always subscribe.
Yep. Make sure to share with your friends.
And thanks for watching. Bye.
See ya.